Praise be Jesus Christ. Every month I recommend a book of the month. The book of the month for this month, April, is The Way of a Pilgrim. Beautiful little story. Many of you have fallen in love with this book. It's become a bit of a classic. It's kind of a cute story, has a few odd things in it. And I was kind of feeling a little bad, here I am recommending these simple little books to people. And then I read in the news today, check this out, Catholic News Agency article, April 21st, the caption is, Pope Francis at the general audience says, we can all learn from the perseverance of the Russian pilgrim. And I'm like, no way. Is he talking about the way of a pilgrim? So I read, it says, Pope Francis encouraged Catholics on Wednesday to read the 19th century Russian spiritual classic. And I'm thinking, I think he's talking about the way of a pilgrim. So I read on. The Pope said that everyone could benefit from reading The Way of a Pilgrim, the story of an unnamed pilgrim who travels across Russia seeking to discover the secret of constant prayer. And I'm like, no way. In the month I'm recommending The Way of a Pilgrim, Pope Francis, check this out. He says, it is beautiful. The story of the Russian pilgrim. It is a book that is accessible to all. I recommend you read it. It will help you to understand what vocal prayer is. And then he gives this beautiful little teaching on vocal prayer, and he contrasts it with prayer of the heart and speaks about the importance of having vocal prayer, what he calls prayer of the lips in our life. He calls vocal prayer, like saying prayers out loud, which some of us kind of dismiss as childish or whatever. He says it is as necessary as manual labor. And I thought that's a very interesting comparison. Because like when you go off alone on retreat, or even if you're driving a long trip in your car, it's good to have times where you just pray out loud. In a peaceful, in a calm way, but it's a form of prayer that engages our intellect and also our heart, and it has its place. Anyways, he does a really good job. I want to quote to you at length. This is what he says. We should all have the humility of certain elderly people who in church, perhaps because their hearing is no longer acute, recite quietly the prayers they learned as children, filling the nave with whispers. Have you ever been in church and someone's whispering her prayers or his prayers? Check out what he says. That prayer does not disturb the silence, but testifies to their fidelity to the duty of prayer, practiced throughout their lives without fail. These practitioners of humble prayer are often the great intercessors in the parish. They are the oaks that from year to year spread their branches to offer shade to the greatest number of people. And then he says, only God knows when and how much their hearts have been united to those prayers they recited. Surely these people too had to face nights of empty moments, but one can always remain faithful to vocal prayer. It is like an anchor. One can hold on to the rope and remain faithful, come what may. Concluding his address, he urged Catholics not to overlook vocal prayer. And then he says, please do not succumb to the pride of scorning vocal prayer. It's a beautiful article if you read the whole thing. And so I do recommend, beautiful little book, The Way of a Pilgrim. And a scripture for you. Scripture says, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Viva Cristo Rey.